In the near future, Earth has been destroyed by climate change and overpopulation. Humanity settles in a space colony named Nova Prime after an organization called the Uniting Ranger Corps is established to plan the planet's evacuation. A race of aliens known as Sekrel sends a number of Ursas to invade since they believe that humans are now weak. These Ursas are ferocious predators that were designed to kill people. Despite being blind, they can hunt people by identifying the sense that people release when they are afraid, while Prime Commander Cypher proves to be a hero by learning to control his emotions. The Ursas may make a person invisible by not displaying any fear. This is called ghosting. In an attempt to emulate his father, Kitai, Cypher's kid, enlists in the Ranger Academy a few years after the conflict. He goes above and above to demonstrate his uniqueness, even when jogging, which is one of the most fundamental criteria. Despite having excellent exam results, Kitai is struggling in the field and hasn't yet received the promotion to Ranger that he desired. When Cypher gets home after a mission later that night, Kitai informs him that he has not been promoted. Rather than offering consolation to his son, Cypher remains aloof as usual and remarks that Kitai must not have been prepared because the commander is skilled. As though he didn't know how to switch off the soldier mode, Cypher is usually aloof with his family. He even demands that Kitai address him as Sir and shouts commands at him at the table. Following dinner, Cypher informs his wife Faya that he will be departing the following day to teach cadets in Ifito and presents her with a gift he received from the mission. But once that mission is finished, he plans to retire and work in the administrative department alongside her. Faya is happy to hear it and emphasizes that he should talk to Kitai more, spend more time with him, and be less aloof. Instead of a commanding officer, Kitai needs a father. Because Kitai blames himself for his sister Senshi's death and attempts to relate to her by reading her favorite book, Moby Dick, she believes Kitai has a lot of insecurities. In light of this, Cypher goes up to Kitai and promises to accompany him to Ifito. Later on, as the group prepares to depart, Kitai sees a ranger with a severed limb approaching his father to thank him for saving him during the Ursus conflict. The ranger urges his friends to assist him rise up and give the correct salute in honor of humanity's hero, even if Cypher believes it is not required. When the journey starts, Kitai tries to communicate to his father and tell him he's reading Moby Dick. But Cypher is reticent and gives him succinct, icy responses. He then advises Kitai to relax for the remainder of the trip. Pretending to follow orders, Kitai gets up to tour the ship once Cypher falls asleep. When he enters a mystery location marked with caution signs, the guarding rangers chastise him right away. They let him in to view their cargo, though, after realizing he is Cypher's son. It turns out they are carrying an Ursa, which will be used to train the cadets in ghosting. The ranger challenges Kitai to test his emotional control by touching the Ursa's shell, but as he approaches, he starts to experience flashbacks to the night his sister passed away. Senshi placed Kitai within a glass enclosure to prevent the monster from smelling him when an Ursa attacked their house. Kitai is ready to touch the shell when he is startled into backing away by the Ursa's roaring as it detects his fear. Cypher awakens in the meantime and feels some odd vibrations, so he presses his ring against the ship wall to be sure that danger is approaching. He tells the rangers to be on high alert and tells Kitai to fasten his seatbelt and put on his life jacket. The pilots are then told by Cypher in the cockpit that they are approaching an asteroid storm. The spacecraft starts to shake as it is struck by the asteroids, losing an engine before they can change their direction. To get to a new anchorage, Cypher tells the pilots to go through the closest wormhole. The ship safely exits the wormhole and emerges close to Earth, which is forbidden by law due to its perils. Cypher wants to go somewhere else, but the pilots tell him they have to land right away since the ship has sustained too much damage. Kitai panics as the ship starts to shake once more as it approaches Earth's atmosphere, so Cypher helps him relax by teaching him to take deep breaths. At that point, the ship starts to disintegrate, and Kitai passes out while Cypher is carried away by the wind. Kitai wakes up a moment later to find the ship has crashed. When he gets up from his chair to find the others, he discovers that every ranger is dead. Fortunately, he locates Cypher and verifies his survival, so Kitai waits for him to awaken while sitting next to him. As Cypher awakens, Kitai tells him that since the ship's tail has vanished, the Ursa has also vanished. When Kitai tries to use the emergency beacon after Cypher leads him to the cockpit, he finds it to be broken. After that, Kitai places Cypher on a stretcher and leads him to the main computer of the spacecraft, where Cypher verifies that there is another beacon in the ship's tail and looks through the inventory. Cypher assigns Kitai the task of locating the tail, which the scanner indicates is roughly 100 kilometers away because both of his legs are injured. Kitai is then given his blade by Cypher, along with 6 vials of air filtration inhalers to aid with his breathing in the harsh atmosphere of Earth. He also tells him that Cypher would be able to view whatever Kitai sees because the life suit and the backpack are equipped with cameras. Everything on Earth has evolved to harm people, so the boy needs to exercise extreme caution. This reminds Kitai of the time he had to witness his sister being slain by an Ursa. Cypher believes the Ursa they were carrying must have perished in the collision when Kitai questions him about it. However, it is safer to presume that it is still in existence. When Kitai exits the spacecraft after using one of the inhalers, he becomes extremely anxious due to the sight of all the bodies nearby. Cypher forces him to kneel in order to soothe him and reminds him to focus on the here and now in order to face his worries. After that, Kitai sets off on his adventure, meeting many species he had never seen before. A spider on his hand startles him as he climbs a rock, and upon reaching the summit, he witnesses livestock grazing on the plains and birds soaring over the sky. The view is breathtaking, particularly for someone who has always been in space. Cypher warns Kitai that the temperature lowers significantly at night as he launches a number of probes to locate the Ursa. He needs to locate one of the numerous hotspots before nightfall in order to survive. After confirming that his leg bones are shattered through a scan, Cypher considers taking medication to combat the discomfort. But when the label informs him that the shot may cause drowsiness and eye impairment, Cypher is reminded of the moment his daughter contacted him during the battle. Since actual books were becoming rare, Senshi's discovery of an original copy of Moby Dick was significant. Cypher chooses not to take the medication since he is beginning to regret acting so coldly toward her enthusiasm. Kitai discovers his outfit has turned black a few moments later. According to Cypher, it has motion sensors, and the color black indicates that a life form is pursuing him. Cypher tells Kitai to remain motionless as a big baboon suddenly appears out of the forest, but Kitai prefers to scare it away by throwing a rock at it. As a result, several baboons emerge and start hurling pebbles at Kitai. To prevent the baboons from pursuing him, Cypher leads the youngster as he starts to run as quickly as he can in the direction of the closest river. Kitai swiftly crosses the river, but he is too frightened and anxious to stop running with his sword out, even if the baboons are no longer pursuing him. In order to get him to stop and take a knee and calm down, Cypher must yell at him. Cypher urges his son to inspect Kitai's body since he has discovered poisons in his system. When Kitai realizes he has a leech on his hand, he removes it right away, but the toxin remains in his body. When Cypher instructs him to inject the antidote, Kitai needs to drop his body on the needle to make it stick and lose consciousness because he is beginning to lose sensation in his hands. A few hours later, Kitai is forced to wake up in order to locate a hotspot, which is 10 kilometers away, after Cypher sees that the temperature is dropping. As Kitai starts to run as quickly as he can, Cypher hears the computer tell him that his son requires an artery shunt to treat his leg. Once more, Cypher endures the discomfort of the procedure and refuses to take the medication. He recalls being on a mission and having to watch Senshi's 19th birthday celebration through a screen while he works. Only after much pleading did Cypher agree to blow out the candles on Senshi's cake. Kitai, who was younger, blew out the candles for him. After arriving at the hot spot, Kitai inspects his equipment and finds that 2 of his inhalers are broken, but he tells his father he has them all. Although Cypher doesn't elaborate, he notices a response on the screen that might be a sign of deception. As it starts to rain, Kitai hides under a tree with a vial and takes advantage of the opportunity to ask his father how he was able to remain anonymous during the war. According to Cypher, he was once stabbed in the shoulder by an Ursa's pincer, and they fell into the river as a result of the struggle. The Ursa attempted to drown him, but Cypher's acceptance of his death caused the pincer to emerge since the Ursa was unable to locate him. Cypher had realized fear was a myth. Anger is merely a concept in people's minds regarding the future, even if it does exist. The probes have discovered some intriguing readings, so Cypher sends Kitai to the waterfall the following morning. As evidence of a bigger threat, Kitai spots a heap of dead monkeys en route. Cypher forces Kitai to inspect his inventory after he arrives at the falls, and Kitai tries to fabricate the inhalers once more. Cypher exposes his deception and performs some calculations that show Kitai cannot complete the assignment without the inhalers. He therefore gives him the command to cancel the expedition. Kitai promises Cypher that he won't be a coward again after reflecting on how he had to witness Senshi's death and refusing to do so with his father. Since he wasn't home to defend his family during the Ursa attack, he actually believes Cypher to be the coward. Ignoring the jab, Cypher tells Kitai to turn around, but Kitai ignores him and leaps off the falls, gliding through the air in his suit. Kitai tries to steer to shelter behind the waterfalls as a massive condor suddenly appears and starts hunting him. But the condor moves quickly, and Kitai is attacked by the bird as soon as he emerges. Cypher loses all contact with Kitai once he passes out. Kitai awakens in the condor's nest with its young a short while later. As he attempts to depart in silence, a number of lions appear and attempt to enter in order to feed. Many of them avoid the condor's onslaught and continue to attempt to enter. The condor snatches another lion after Kitai successfully tosses one out, but as a third lion enters, Kitai is forced to use his blade. He makes a hole in the ground to force the lion to fall because he doesn't want to fight. When Kitai leaves the nest after the lions have all left, he is heartbroken to witness the condor lamenting the loss of all its young. When Kitai later tries to call his father, he finds that his communicator is broken. Cypher's drones back in the ship send him pictures of the Rangers' carcasses dangling from a tree, indicating that the Ursa is out and about. In order to let his wife know that he has lost his son, Cypher chooses to record a message. To avoid the night cold, Kitai continues to go through the forest and shelters within a cave. He discovers cavemen's artwork within, along with numerous poisonous snakes that he narrowly avoids. Considering his goods and the remaining distance, he calculates that although his prospects are slim, he must nevertheless make an effort. When Kitai emerges from the cave the following morning, he discovers the condor is pursuing him. Kitai starts to flee since he thinks it's going to attack, and he soon has to use his final inhaler. Kitai then constructs a tiny raft to help him navigate the river. He tries informing Senshi that he nearly left the enclosure to assist her on the day of her death, as he naps and dreams that she is beside him. Even though Senshi doesn't believe him, she doesn't mind because she believes that preserving himself was the proper thing for him to do. Additionally, she believes Cypher is upset with himself for what transpired. Senshi yells at Kitai to wake up as he attempts to recite Moby Dick to demonstrate that he has been reading it. When Kitai opens his eyes, he sees that the raft has landed. Kitai rushes to find a hot spot because it's becoming cold outside, but he doesn't find one quickly enough, and as the plants around him freeze, he passes out on the ground. When Kitai awakens in the morning, he finds something on top of himself that has kept him warm. It turns out that the object is the condor, which died to rescue him as a thank you for defending its chicks. Kitai expresses gratitude to the creature and proceeds on his adventure. Finding a fragment of the ship on the ground motivates him to continue even if his breathing is becoming difficult. When Kitai eventually locates the ship's tail a few moments later, he grabs a fresh blade and additional inhalers. He then explores the area and discovers that the Ursa shell is open, indicating that the creature has fled. In his dream, Cypher is back on the ship and young Kitai is giving him his own blade. Kitai's voice abruptly wakes him awake because he discovered a communicator and a beacon in the ship's tail. Kitai is in the black zone and cannot hear Cypher when he tries to speak to him. Unaware of this, Kitai attempts to use the beacon but is unsuccessful. Kitai throws a rage out of frustration and desperation, but he quickly recalls his father's counsel and takes a knee to calm himself. Kitai understands that there is interference in the vicinity and that he should be able to activate the beacon without any problems if he climbs the nearby volcano. Kitai discovers a ranger's body while traveling to the volcano, and the Ursa is left there to frighten him and set off his hormones. Kitai ignores it as best he can and continues until he reaches the volcano's base, where he makes another unsuccessful attempt to launch the beacon. When Cypher sees the Ursa on the scanner, he hopes his son will act quickly to avoid being discovered. Kitai then ventures inside a cave in an attempt to locate a route to the volcano's summit. He discovers the Ursa waiting for him inside. The beast attacks right away but is ensnared beneath a stack of boulders. When the Ursa breaks free and starts to hunt Kitai, the boy chooses to hide in a pool of water. Cypher loses access to the medical treatment back on the ship when the computer malfunctions, and he starts to lose consciousness. As this is going on, Kitai swims in the direction of a light source, which enables him to surface again into a pit. The Ursa leaps out of the lake and seizes the boy's foot as he begins to climb it to the summit of the volcano. After kicking the beast back into the water, Kitai completes the ascent up the pit to reach the outside. Kitai tries to turn on the beacon right away, but the Ursa comes back and leaps on him, knocking him to the rocks and causing him to drop the device. Kitai writhes on the ground in agony as he recalls the day Senshi shielded him and all of Cypher's counsel, which at last helped him focus and get over his anxiety in order to achieve ghosting. Kitai uses his blade to attack the beast once it loses sight of him, taking advantage of its uncertainty. It simply takes Kitai a few accurate blows to kill the beast because it is unable to protect itself. Cypher witnesses all of this before he permanently loses consciousness. A few hours later, the Rangers show there to save them after Kitai eventually sets off the beacon. Although Kitai is concerned about his father, he assures him that he is doing well. Kitai rushes to embrace his father as he declares that he wants to work with his mother, but Cypher pushes his aching body to stand up and honor his son for his courage. For the first time, Cypher returns the hug and says he wants to retire too.